how's everyone doing? Hope you're all doing great. Drop a comment and let me know. Anyway, today's story takes us back to a time when a demon came straight out of hell to save our world. But ironically, some of his greatest enemies were humans themselves. So, let's dive back into the nostalgia and relive the first anti-hero story we ever witnessed. The story begins on October 9th, 1944, when a squad of soldiers in Scotland went out on a mission to arrest a man named Gregory. Gregory was one of Hitler's special men, and at the same time, he was also the leader of a secret group. That night, Gregory revealed that he had opened a portal to another world. Now, through this portal, he would summon 7 monsters from the other world so that they could wipe out all of Hitler's enemies. Meanwhile, a professor named Trevor threw a grenade at the German soldiers to prevent this disaster. The blast killed some German soldiers, and then a fierce battle broke out between both sides. Gregory, using his dangerous ninja skills, tore his enemies apart. Swords were strapped to his wrists, and with their strikes, he kept injuring his opponents. On the other side, Trevor was under a deadly attack, and he felt like he was about to die. So he threw a grenade at the portal to blow it up. As soon as Gregory saw this, he rushed to pick up the bomb, but then the explosion happened. Because of this, the portal was destroyed. But just before that, Gregory got blown across and ended up on the other side of the portal. Now, he had also entered that other world. Moments later, Trevor got up and said the portal had been open for a long time, which meant some creature must have already come through from the other world. He then ordered his soldiers to search the area. While Trevor was bandaging his wounds, he suddenly saw a small red creature. He immediately told his soldiers to stop firing. He went near the creature and realized it was really small, maybe the baby of a monster. Then he tried to befriend it by giving it chocolate. Gaining its trust, Trevor captured it. Since it was so tiny, Trevor decided to adopt it. Together with his soldiers, he named this little monster Hellboy. Many years later, we see some travelers walking in deserted areas. These people were actually with Gregory. One day they found an ancient temple, but as soon as they went inside, they brutally killed their guide and used his blood as a sacrifice to start the process of bringing Gregory back from the other world. Meanwhile, Trevor was now working as a scientist in New York. He had kept Hellboy hidden from the eyes of the entire world until now. Then we're shown a city called New Ark, where the Bureau of Paranormal Research was located. A young FBI officer named John Myers had recently come there to work. When he entered the building, he was sent to Sector 51, where he saw a humanoid creature named Abe. This strange being was found in a secret chamber of St. Trinian Hospital. Now, John, along with Dr. Trevor, was going to research more about it. Then Trevor told Agent Clay to introduce John to the rest of the paranormal creatures. When John first saw Hellboy, he was completely stunned, because Hellboy's comics were really famous outside, but very few people had ever seen him for real. Anyway, by now Hellboy had grown up, and he usually stayed locked in his room with his cats. John just couldn't believe Hellboy was real. Just then the alarm went off, so Trevor and John had to head to the library. They had to get Hellboy and Abe there without being seen by ordinary people, so they were carried in a truck and dropped straight inside the library. When they got there, Trevor and John got word that a huge and powerful creature had attacked 6 guards and killed them. Trevor then, with the help of Abe's knowledge of sea creatures, tracked the monster. Hellboy loaded holy water into his gun and got ready to face it. When Hellboy entered the room, he saw the monster tearing apart and eating another man. Hellboy stepped in and said, "If you kneel down and surrender, you'll live. Otherwise, I'll bust your jaw into your mouth. Got it?" But as soon as the monster heard that, it bolted. Hellboy ran after it and shot at it. Finally, his attack brought the monster down, and Hellboy thought he had defeated it. But then Abe showed up and said he'd just discovered something new. This monster could come back to life after dying. As soon as Hellboy turned back, he saw that the creature had already revived and disappeared somewhere. Then Abe explained that till now, no one had found a way to defeat this monster, so Hellboy himself would have to destroy it. Suddenly, the monster attacked from behind. With a single punch, it sent Hellboy crashing through the library walls and out into the open. Now he was in a deserted alley when suddenly Gregory appeared in front of him. Gregory called Hellboy his son and revealed that it was because of the portal he created that Hellboy had come into this world. But Hellboy wasn't going to fall for his words so easily. He immediately pulled out his gun to finish Gregory, but suddenly Gregory vanished. At that very moment, the monster showed up from behind and tried to attack Hellboy with its 20-foot-long tongue. Luckily, John showed up right in time and started firing furiously at the monster. Hellboy, hiding behind a wall, realized his powers weren't enough to stop this massive beast. Finally, he shot a tracking bullet at the monster so he could find and kill it later. After that, the monster tried to escape and got caught in a fairground where thousands of people were celebrating Halloween. Now, to save ordinary people's lives, Hellboy went there again to stop the monster. The danger was, of course, that his real identity might get exposed to the public. But still, to save lives, he stepped onto the crowded street. John ran after him too, but suddenly got hit by a car. When Hellboy saw this, he stopped chasing the monster and instead lifted the car to save John from being crushed. After that, Hellboy went chasing the monster once again. Finally, he reached the train tracks. But as soon as he got there, the monster rushed inside a train full of people. Suddenly, the conductor attacked it and threw it out of the train. Luckily, it fell right in the middle of the tracks, and the train passed over without causing any harm. As soon as the train left, once again, a fierce fight began between Hellboy and the monster. But the monster was overpowering him and was about to kill Hellboy, when at the right moment, Hellboy generated electrical energy from his body and gave the monster a massive electric shock, which set its body on fire. After that, Hellboy walked away. Within moments, the monster was finished. But soon, its soul came out and split into two parts, giving birth to two monsters. On the other side, Hellboy thought he had killed the monster, and to relax, he went to celebrate Halloween at a psychiatric clinic with a girl named Liz Sherman. Meanwhile, back at the library, Trevor and his team were still investigating. Then, with the help of his special powers, Abe learned about the history of this place. Actually, years ago, Gregory's close companions, Carl and Nimue, had come here to steal a jar of salt. But this was no ordinary salt. It was made from the tears of thousands of fairies. The jar was hidden inside a statue. As soon as Nimue got the jar, he told Carl to attack the guard. Then Gregory began his ritual of summoning monsters from the underworld. Meanwhile, when Hellboy met Liz, he asked her to come back to the department with him. But Liz said she couldn't do that yet because she was still learning to control her powers. Soon, Trevor and the other agents also arrived. The moment Liz saw them, she stood up to return to her hospital. She told Hellboy not to try to meet her again. A little later, when Hellboy was being bandaged in the lab, they discovered that the monster had left 3 eggs on his arm. This meant the monster must have left many eggs on the train tracks as well. So, Dr. Trevor ordered Hellboy to go there before morning and destroy all the eggs. That night, we see Liz sleeping in her bed when Gregory secretly entered her room. He put Liz under his control and made her dream, where Liz lost control of her powers and everything and everyone around her burned to ashes. Watching such a horrifying dream, suddenly Liz's body also caught fire, and an enormous explosion shook the entire hospital. Meanwhile, John was finding it strange to work in this world of monsters and bizarre creatures. He said he didn't want to keep working in this department anymore, because Hellboy wasn't even willing to take his help. But later, Trevor revealed that he was very sick and didn't have much time left. So Trevor told John, "After I'm gone, you'll have to take care of Hellboy." Hearing this, John's heart melted, and he decided to stay. After this, he heard the news about the hospital explosion and went to meet Liz, who had been locked up in a cell. Now, John also asked Liz to rejoin the department. The next morning, Hellboy arrived at the train station with his team, and Abe led them to the place where the monster had stuck its eggs. To get inside, Hellboy knocked down a wall with one punch, and the noise alerted Carl that someone had entered. After that, Abe found an underground sewer and decided to jump in to search for the eggs. Before leaving, Hellboy gave him a small box of sacred material to help fight enemies. Abe then dived into the sewer, and after swimming for a while, he saw the eggs. But as soon as he began to collect them, he sensed the enemy was close by. Meanwhile, above, Carl appeared in front of Hellboy to distract him. Hellboy saw him and immediately chased after him. In the sewer, Abe discovered the monster's nest where all the eggs were, but while trying to gather them, the box tied to his wrist slipped away. At that very moment, the monster tried to grab him from behind, but Abe quickly swam away and hid between the pillars so it couldn't catch him. During this, he had to signal his friends for help. Outside, the agents waiting for him suddenly saw another monster created from the monster's soul. Guarded, they quickly raised their guns to attack, but before they could shoot, the monster captured one of them. It cruelly chewed Quarry alive. When Moss saw this, he got terrified and tried to run, but within moments, the monster killed him too. Meanwhile, when Hellboy was chasing Carl, he too saw another monster formed from the soul. Seeing it, Hellboy was shocked because until now, he thought he had destroyed the monster. Soon, a fierce battle started between them, and fighting, they both fell into a tunnel. From there, they ended up right outside the train station. There, the monster threw Hellboy hard against a wall. To counterattack, Hellboy ripped out an entire phone booth and used it as a weapon. He hit the monster with several powerful blows, but then the monster grabbed the phone from him and smashed a pillar, causing the ceiling to collapse on Hellboy. Even though he was badly crushed, Hellboy stood up again and challenged the monster once more. But now, he was seriously injured, with glass shards stuck in his back. Taking advantage of this moment, the monster lifted him and threw him straight onto the second floor. The monster climbed up after him, and as soon as people saw it, they ran away in fear. At that moment, Hellboy spotted a basket of cats on the ground. To save them, he picked it up. Then, when the monster attacked with its long tongue, Hellboy grabbed it, spun it around, and threw it straight onto the tracks. The monster somehow managed to cling to the tunnel ceiling, but just then, a fast-approaching train crushed it completely. Finally, after killing the monster, Hellboy returned the cats to their owner. On the other side, Abe emerged from the sewer, but he didn't know that hundreds of the monster's eggs had started hatching. Just then, Clay saw Carl approaching. He pulled out his gun, but his bullets had no effect on Carl. Now Carl, with ninja lightning-fast strikes of his blade, Carl badly wounded Clay. After this, Carl also lay down beside the injured Clay, and his body started trembling. Sometime later, when Hellboy arrived, he saw Clay lying unconscious next to Carl. So, he immediately called for an ambulance. When Hellboy returned to the department, he got the news that Quarry and Moss had also been killed. And after the monster's attack, Abe's condition was extremely critical. On top of that, the doctor said Clay wouldn't survive until the next morning. Hearing all this, Hellboy was furious with rage. But just then, John showed up with Liz, and seeing her, Hellboy calmed himself down. That night, he decided to write a poem to confess his love to Liz. But later, when he found out Liz was going on a date with John, his heart broke. Meanwhile, Trevor was researching Carl's corpse in the lab. He noticed Carl's eyelids and lips had been cut. On the other side, Liz was going on her date with John. Hellboy felt jealous of John and decided to follow them. When he saw Liz taking John's photo, he got filled with anger and leapt onto the building next to them. In the process, he almost fell, but somehow managed to climb onto the roof. There, he ran into a small boy who recognized Hellboy. Hellboy told him to stay quiet because he was on a very important mission. Meanwhile, in the lab, Trevor was trying to understand the millinote with Carl's corpse when suddenly Carl came back to life. He put on his clothes and went out to complete his unfinished mission. As soon as he appeared before Trevor in the library, Trevor realized Carl was nothing more than a puppet controlled by Gregory. Then Carl placed his hand on Trevor's head and showed him a vision of the future. He said that according to Hellboy's destiny, he would open the portal of hell, after which the earth would be destroyed. After revealing this, Carl finally slit Trevor's throat and killed him. On the other side, John and Liz were sitting on a park bench, and Hellboy was watching them from a distance. Soon Hellboy realized John was trying to get closer to Liz, so from afar, he threw a small stone at John's head. John, angry, stood up and looked around. But right at that moment, Hellboy and the boy hid. Then, officers from the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense arrived there and spoke to Liz. Seeing them, Hellboy understood that something bad had happened. When Hellboy reached the lab, he got the news that Trevor, his father, was dead. Hellboy was deeply shocked because Trevor was the only family he had in this world. After that, Hellboy locked himself in the library and didn't speak to anyone for 3 days. Liz was really worried for him, so she tried talking to him. She wanted Hellboy to go to Moscow for investigation because, before dying, Trevor had found a clue pointing there. Now, the boy may be a little red, but he's still a boy, so he set off for Moscow soon. On the way, he read some old books about the monster and found out that when this monster is killed once, it reproduces more like itself. That meant, if it had to be destroyed forever, Hellboy would have to wipe out all its copies and all its parts at the same time. After a long day's journey, his team finally reached a snow-covered desert, in the middle of which there was a cemetery. Their next stop was to find Gregory's grave. Hellboy used a compass to guide everyone in the right direction. They then arrived at the grave of a man named Ivan. Hellboy performed a magical ritual and brought Ivan back to life. He carried Ivan on his back, and following the directions he gave, they entered the underground tunnels. But there, many walls blocked their way forward. Hellboy pressed on and told Lime to carry Ivan's body. But by now, Officer Tom was extremely frightened, and he ordered Hellboy to break down the door so he could escape safely. Hellboy argued that this could prove extremely dangerous for them, but Tom kept insisting on leaving. Suddenly, a massive hammer attacked Lime and Ivan, smashing half the bridge. At that moment, Hellboy saw the door about to close, so he quickly threw Tom inside and leapt in himself just before the hammer struck. When the door closed, they heard music coming from far away. Meanwhile, Carl sensed that someone had entered. When Hellboy and Tom burst into his chamber, Carl made a deadly attack on Tom with his ninja blade, but Hellboy blocked the strike with his iron fist. Then Hellboy unleashed his strength, landing several powerful blows on Carl. He knew Carl was responsible for his father's death, and he wanted revenge by killing him. But suddenly, the ground under his feet gave way, and he fell into a well filled with iron spikes, which were about to pierce through his body. At the last moment, Hellboy grabbed hold of a rope and survived. Finally, Hellboy hurled a massive boulder onto him and finished him off. Meanwhile, John and Liz, along with Agent Johnson, were moving deeper into the tunnels. Soon, they reached a pond where all the copies born from the monster's soul were present there. Seeing them, they got scared and ran back, but right at that moment, the doors closed and the three of them got trapped between the monsters. Then Liz, through the radio, told Hellboy that she was in danger. Hearing this, Hellboy, without caring for himself, began punching the ground hard to break through. At the same time, the monster attacked Agent Johnson, so John fired bullets at them to stop them. Suddenly, Hellboy broke through the ceiling and arrived there, launching a fierce battle against the monsters. All the monsters gathered and attacked Hellboy together. Liz couldn't just watch her close friend be dragged into death, so she told Johnson to run away. And then, using her superpowers, she set the entire place on fire. She knew that fire had no effect on Hellboy, but all the other monsters would be reduced to ashes. The terrifying flames from Liz's body not only destroyed the monsters, but also their eggs. Because of the fire, there was a massive explosion, and all the tunnels began collapsing. The three of them were badly injured. Hours later, Nimue found them, and Gregory said that everything was happening just as the prophecy foretold. When John's eyes opened, he saw that the enemies had chained him. Hellboy had also been captured. When he saw Liz unconscious, he grew restless. Gregory came before Hellboy and told him to open the gate of hell, but Hellboy flatly refused. Then Gregory, to hurt him, decided to enslave Liz's soul. Seeing this, Hellboy exploded with rage and tried to break free so he could save Liz. But Gregory soon killed Liz and then told Hellboy that Liz's soul was waiting at the gate of hell. If he wanted to bring her back to life, he would have to open the gate. At that very moment, a lunar eclipse began in the sky. Gregory snatched the cross tied to Hellboy's wrist and then asked him his true name. As soon as Hellboy spoke his name, Gregory set him free. Instantly, Hellboy's body grew many times larger, and his powers increased greatly. As soon as his horns fully grew out, Hellboy went toward the pillar and placed his right hand on it, unlocking the first seal. The moment he did this, a blazing energy shot rapidly into the sky and struck the moon. The portal of hell began opening, with thousands of monsters ready to pour into this world. Meanwhile, John freed himself and grabbed Dr. Trevor's cross. Hellboy was about to unlock the final seal when John threw the cross to him and reminded him of all the teachings of his father, Dr. Trevor. The moment Hellboy touched the cross, it was like his eyes opened. He remembered Dr. Trevor's words that just because he was a monster didn't mean he had to do evil. Every living being in this world has the power to choose their actions. It depends on them whether they stand with good or with evil. Realizing this, Hellboy broke off his own horns and, just in time before the monsters could enter this world, shut the gate of hell. After that, he attacked Gregory and delivered a deadly blow, then picked up Liz and walked out with John. But suddenly, from Gregory's stomach, a ferocious monster emerged, rapidly growing in size. When Nimue saw this monster, she chose, for the sake of her love, to die along with Gregory so they both could enter hell together. On the other side, when Hellboy came out of the tunnels to the surface, He told John to take Liz to safety, while he himself got ready to blow up the entire place with his grenade belt. But before John could leave, the monster from Gregory's body captured Hellboy and thrashed him violently. But this time, the monster caught him again and, within moments, swallowed him alive. Inside the monster's stomach, Hellboy activated the grenades, which caused a massive explosion inside it. Luckily, Hellboy survived the blast and came out alive, heading straight back to John. John was deeply worried about Liz because she wasn't breathing. Then Hellboy slowly came close to Liz and whispered something in her ear. Within moments, Liz's soul returned to her body. As soon as she came back to life, Liz hugged him with joy. Finally, she realized she also loved Hellboy. So, with her powers, she produced fire in her body and kissed Hellboy. Well, our red boy finally got his girl, but I do feel bad for poor John. Tell me how you liked the movie in the comments. See you in the next video.